Big stories impacting the Indiana economy. Fiat Chrysler Automobiles in Kokomo releasing details now on its planned $400 million project to transform a transmission factory into an engine plant. It includes some big jobs numbers. Meantime, as the coronavirus continues to spread, more deaths have been reported. What is the potential impact on Indiana's manufacturing economy? Volatility in the stock market captures some of the growing concern over the disease, and Ball State economist Mike Hicks is here to weigh in on both. Meantime, two roommates at IU say they've created only the third rideshare company to get a specialized network company license in Indiana. They're challenging Uber and Lyft. They're both here to talk about Nomad Rides, the world's first commission-free rideshare service, how it works, and why it's expanding. And the goal of the Mid-States Corridor is to improve regional connectivity, traffic safety, and to support economic development. Leadership from a group representing the French Lick Resort is here to explain why they need a proposed highway in that region. Details on those stories and much more ahead on this edition of Inside Indiana Business. Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. In our top story this week, we are following two stories impacting the Hoosier economy. Fiat Chrysler Automobiles in Kokomo is now releasing details of its previously announced $400 million plan to retool one of its transmission plants to produce a new engine. It is the latest in a series of major auto industry expansions in Indiana. There is also growing concern on the impact the coronavirus could have on the state's economy, in particular the manufacturing sector. But we begin in Kokomo with the developing story at Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, which was first mentioned in Governor Holcomb's State of the State address in January. Our Mary Rachel Redmond is in Kokomo with more on the investment that marks the first time FCA has built an engine in Indiana. Mary Rachel.
Thanks, Gary. Well, I'm standing inside the newly named Kokomo Engine Plant, where construction is already underway on the $400 million transformation process of the former transmission plant. I talked to FCA North America Vice President Brad Clark and asked him why make such a significant investment in Kokomo. And he tells me it all boiled down to workforce.
In 2010, the company made a decision to maintain transmission production here, and the workforce is just delivered for the company. And so when we looked at our global GME engine, it just made sense that this facility was available and the workforce was available to invest here. We're going to probably maintain around 1,000 jobs and have the potential to add about 200 jobs. But most importantly, it diversifies us from just being a transmission city to allow us to get into the engines. I already know that we have a world-class workforce in this area, so I have no doubt that this team's going to deliver.
And no one is more excited about FCA's investment in Kokomo than Mayor Tyler Moore and the significant impact it will have on the community.
The investment by Chrysler is very important to the city because it gives more assurance that the work is going to stay here, that the continued commitment to the community from Chrysler is assured, and it just gives everyone, especially the workforce themselves, as well as businesses throughout the community, that peace of mind knowing that the economy is going to continue to thrive with Chrysler here.
And officials tell me the Kokomo engine plant will likely begin production in Q2 of 2021. In Kokomo, Mary Rachel Redmond, Inside Indiana Business.
All right, Mary Rachel, thank you. Let's turn now to Ball State Center for Economic Research Director Mike Hicks with what this huge investment means, not only for Kokomo, but for Indiana. Mike, it's always great to have you on the show.
Good to be with you.
Off camera, you told me this investment, significant obviously, but really the kind of the roots of this date back maybe 10 years or so.
Right. I think you have to go back to the policy reforms under Mitch Daniels, combined with all the good work that Mayor Goodnight did to make that city a place that people want to live. And so you heard on this segment, it's about workforce. That's where you locate factories today. This could have gone anywhere in the world and went to Kokomo for, I think, really those two reasons.
Yeah, and I think that's a point to underscore. This could have gone anywhere. These engines, I think, now are being manufactured in Italy, and the U.S. production is going to be here. Could have gone anywhere, so there was obviously some things going right in Kokomo for this to happen.
Right, and if you visit Kokomo and you haven't been there in 10 or 15 years, you'll be just wowed by how attractive it is. It's a growing Indianapolis suburb with a lot of rural places around it to live. It's the place that a factory like this would want to go. Mm-hmm. It's got a great workforce, fantastic future in this, and I think it shows that the work you do 10 or 15 years ago are going to start bearing fruit.
Yeah, great story happening in Kokomo. Let's switch gears a bit, but to the coronavirus. Getting a lot of attention, obviously, nationally, globally. The potential impact, as you see it, in particular on the Indiana economy, manufacturing economy, goods coming into this country from China. Where do you see things?
Well, right now we import about $7 billion worth of goods a year. About half of that is automotive parts and components, and they come to us directly from China and then from other assembly plants around the country. Those have been idle in China from 6 to 8 weeks now, and most factories are going to have 90, maybe 120 days of stockpile. And so the supply chain has been broken when it actually hits. And factories right now are anywhere from 10 to 60% production, depending what province you are in China. That's going to cause a production interruption in Indiana. It's going to last however long the Chinese factories are down to deal with the spread of the coronavirus disease.
So that's one impact. How about on the demand side, the consumer, which has been so strong during the run-up of the economy?
Right. So we've had a weak manufacturing year, so that's a supply side effect. Nobody can really do anything about that. We're just going to have to live through that. The demand side, which really is a couple of things. Stock markets are down $6 trillion, which is a big impact on people's interest in spending. The Federal Reserve normally could lower interest rates. We could have a stimulus, restore some confidence. But in this case, the confidence is really about catching the disease. So I don't think there's anything the federal government can do to restore confidence in our interest in going on a cruise or taking a flight or going to Disney World. So I think we're in for a really rough patch for the next few months. Hope it doesn't last much longer than that, but the supply side effect and the demand side effect really put downward pressure, sort of recessionary level pressures on the domestic economy. Indiana is really exposed on the supply side with factories, not as bad on the demand side.
Great perspective from Mike Hicks, Ball State University. Mike, as always, thanks for being here.
Good to be with you.
All right. Well, coming up next, a startup created by 2 IU students wants to redefine the business model for the ride-sharing industry. Drivers earn more, riders pay less. That's the model. We'll explain how it works and what's next for Nomad Rides. That's when we return. Stay with us. It's time now to go inside innovation, brought to you by Allegion, pioneering safety. About 2 years ago, they were roommates at Indiana University, and they launched Nomad Rides. The startup has already completed more than 40,000 rides with a group of about 82 drivers and more than 12,000 users. Nomad Rides operating in Bloomington and recently launched in Champaign-Urbana on the campus of the University of Illinois. And I'm pleased to welcome to the show CEO and co-founder Daniel Jones and Chief Financial Officer and also co-founder Michael McHugh. They're going to explain this model and expanding to other Big Ten campuses and beyond. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thanks.
And congratulations. This is an interesting story, and it all began, you guys got together on Bloomington, folks may know this, B-Town Rides, right? Talk about how the idea came about.
Yeah, so it originally started where basically Michael was a senior. I was in California, and I just graduated from 1150 Academy, learned how to code basically. And we started this texting service called B-Town Rides for Bloomington, obviously. And people could just text us, hey, can I get a ride? And the driver would keep 100% of what the rider paid. And we were some of the first few drivers, and the service just blew up. We had people texting us all night long. The next few days, people were asking like, can I also get a ride?
Yeah.
And so that's when we decided like, hey, let's build like a real app for this thing. And it just got insanely popular after we released the app.
All right, let's talk about it. How does it work? Because it's basically a non-commission model, very different than Uber and Lyft.
Yeah, so we're actually the first commission-free rideshare service. So what that means is Uber and Lyft take up to a 40% commission on each ride. And what we do is we don't take anything. So our rider pays 20% less, drivers make 20% more, and then the way we make money is a monthly driver subscription.
Okay, Michael, talk about the growth, because it launched in Bloomington, you got a strong presence there. You're in Champaign on the campus of University of Illinois. You've got additional plans throughout the Big Ten footprint. Why do you think this has caught fire, if you will?
Yeah, so growth-wise, it's kind of amazing. So we've both been working on this full-time for a year now, so a year last February. And since then, we've had to shut down the service in the summer when we went through Y Combinator. So we've only been fully operational now since, August. So and now we're the third TNC licensed company in Indiana. And so the growth has just been, as Daniel put it in our Y Combinator presentation, it was absolutely bananas.
Yeah, we'll talk about that Y Combinator for folks who don't know. It's basically a seed accelerator based out in California. So you all went through that for several months, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just got to learn from some amazing, awesome, super intelligent people. We were super fortunate to go through that program.
Yeah. Growth opportunities. You talk about the Big Ten, but you have plans beyond Big Ten universities. Talk about those plans.
Yeah, so we really want to go through all the Big Ten universities like Purdue, et cetera, and then go through the California schools, the Texas schools, the Southern schools, basically just the top 50 college towns in the United States. And we can build the third largest rideshare company in the US just off these towns.
And the way Daniel phrases the growth too is do you own a car? Or do you not own a car? And it's well, that's our market. So anybody who owns a car and or needs a ride, that's our market. So.
And as we were talking off camera, Uber and Lyft have essentially educated everyone to the rideshare model, to that process. But you've created something that the rider gets to ride for less money, the driver gets to keep more money. Seems like a win-win.
Yeah, it's absolutely more equitable solution than what currently exists.
Yep. All right. It's an amazing story. Started on the campus of Indiana University, is growing around the Big Ten. Daniel Jones and Michael McHugh, the co-founders of Nomad Rides. Thanks for joining us, and good luck. We'll follow the story.
Yeah, thanks so much, Gary.
Well, up next, many view it as one of the biggest roadblocks to economic development in southern Indiana. It's a lack of interstate access to places like French Lick and Jasper. There's a transportation plan involving a potential new highway that is in the works to change that. Stay with us to learn more about what the Mid-States Corridor is all about. Here's what's making news now around Indiana. An economic boost for Huntington County, where orthopedic device manufacturer Incipio Devices is expanding for the second time in less than 3 years. The company plans to invest more than $14 million to purchase and equip a new facility in Huntington and add up to 52 jobs by the end of 2023. Incipio designs commercial orthopedic devices. The company has tripled its job growth since announcing a $7 million investment in 2017. Good news for travelers in Northwest Indiana. 2 months after losing bus service to Chicago's two major airports, passengers in Porter and Lake counties are back. Mishawaka-based charter bus company Royal Excursion launched its new routes from Indiana to O'Hare Airport and Midway this week. Bus riders were left without service when Coach USA North America shut down its service in December. Royal Excursion is offering travel in nearly a dozen cities in the region, including South Bend, Michigan City, and Valparaiso. And DePaul University has named its 20th, and she is the first woman and the first person of color to lead the institution. Lori White, Vice Chancellor at Washington University in St. Louis, will succeed Mark McCoy. She has more than 30 years of experience in both student-focused leadership and academics. Higher education runs deep in her family. Her father, the first African-American to receive a doctorate degree in clinical psychology from Michigan State University. Well, the Mid-States Corridor is a limited access 4-lane highway in southern Indiana. It's been talked about for years. It's aimed at connecting communities that feel they've long been disconnected by a lack of transportation options. The Mid-States Corridor project now down to 5 proposed routes. And the push is on for a route that would traverse through the French Lick area, then north through Bedford, and eventually connecting to I-69 in Bloomington. I'm pleased to welcome to the program Lawrence County Economic Growth Council CEO Chance Sizemore and Orange County Economic Development Partnership Executive Director Zach Brown, who say the route is essential to bring workforce to communities in an 85-mile stretch. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Gary.
Zach, I want to start with you. This project, or this idea of a new highway in southern Indiana has been talked about for a long time. Why is it so important? Why is it so needed to have this new system?
Well, we have developments, Gary, that have taken place over a number of years, and so we're finally starting to see the economic vitality of our community. And we know that this road will be aimed at improving the economics in Orange County and surrounding counties through connectivity, as well as options for population growth, workforce attraction, and so on.
And again, those who've been there understand it. Those who haven't been to southern Indiana don't maybe understand how disconnected it is. It's not easy to get from point A to point B.
Absolutely. So currently, whenever we do have visitors come to the community, north, the fastest route on our GPS takes them through a windy country road. And so by adding the Mid-States Corridor project to our community, it gives us access to from outside the community into the community much easier, and then from inside the community outside the community.
Let's talk quickly. Route you're proposing, you're supporting Route O. Again, there are 5 proposals. Route O. Talk about where that goes and why that's important.
So for Orange County, Route O comes near Highway 56 from the Jasper area, east of Jasper, runs through French Lick and then through an area called Orangeville, a town called Orangeville, and then connects into what's now the Indiana 37, just north of Orleans, Indiana.
All right. Chance, talk about why that route is important for Bedford and Lawrence County, but the region really. I know there are implications for defense, creating a defense corridor. There's tourism, obviously, in French Lick, so a number of items.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. For us, the Mid-State Corridor represents an opportunity that we haven't seen in the past. You have the IU Public Policy Institute and Genovis, who recently done a report suggesting that you'll see a $150 million direct impact on this project. Additionally, creation of about 500 to 700 jobs over a 10-year period. With that opens up opportunity for my community and the defense sector with its relationship with Crane Naval Base and being able to access that. Opens up routes north and south for logistics, understanding that those high-paying jobs still need connectivity from the Indianapolis marketplace to logistical marketplaces in the south, whether that's Kentucky or Southwest Indiana. And then you also have, you have the benefit of tourism, commercial corridors, and all that as well.
Right, and workforce. Workforce throughout the region. Talk about the impact potentially on workforce.
Correct, yeah. So we know most people are willing to travel about 30 minutes for work. And so those are options. One, better connectivity and faster travel time. Allow that workforce to get to their job faster, providing better opportunity for them to have a higher wage job, maybe outside of their additionally, we've seen in several of the communities along the corridor declining or stagnant populations. And so this gives an opportunity to help start and reverse that trend.
Yeah, Chance mentioned the Genovis IU study, the economic impact. I know there's support for this route. When will a final route be selected?
So I believe in September of this year is when the final route is supposed to be selected in that time frame. Okay,
it's a major project, been talked about for a long time in southern Indiana, the Mid-States Corridor. Chance Sizemore, Zach Brown, thank you both for being here.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, we'll be following the story. Coming up next, Indiana's commercial real estate market. It is on an unprecedented roll. Jason Tolliver from Cushman & Wakefield is here to break down the numbers and explain what they mean. There he is in the Inside Indiana Business Social Media Lounge, and he'll be right back after this. Well, nearly $6 billion was invested in commercial real estate deals in Indiana in 2019, with more than 14,000 properties changing hands. Indiana's commercial real estate market remains on the longest uninterrupted expansion on record, but will it continue? Cushman & Wakefield's Managing Director, Investor Services, Jason Tolliver, is here now with a look at statewide trends in commercial real estate and what he expects might happen in 2020. It's always great to have you on the show.
Great to see you here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, let's start off. I talk about that longest uninterrupted stretch. It really has been an amazing run.
It's been a decade, can you believe it? I mean, the industrial market, the office market, multifamily, retail, you name it, continues to grow. So I think that's going to continue. I think mid-year we're going to have about 10 full years of growth, and there's no sign with the numbers you just shared of it slowing at all.
All right, let's talk about some of the sectors in particular. The office market, as you look at that, both here in Indianapolis, but around the state, been pretty strong.
Yeah, you know, it has been. And what's really interesting is now you see some of the strongest demand, not just in Indianapolis, it's occurring in Evansville and Fort Wayne and other markets. So those kind of smaller secondary markets have really strong growth stories. I think the outlook for them may be even stronger than Central Indiana. But when you turn to Central Indiana, all the different leasing profiles that we see are really strong as well. So I think that there's no indication that that's going to slow. Really bullish on the outlook.
Yeah, and some of the industries driving office?
Well, in Central Indiana, I mean, tech remains a key driver. We're seeing a lot of healthcare-related leasing, and then the professional and business services that are kind of the backbone of that continue to drive significant demand. So health across all three sectors, no reason to think that's going to change.
Moving on to a sector that continues to be red hot, and that's industrial.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, the worst bet to make is to bet against Indiana industrial. It continues to outperform not just the peers regionally, but it remains among the industry leaders nationally. Historic year last year in terms of new leasing demand, continued expansions, attracting new folks to the state, and existing Hoosier tenants continuing to expand. I think that's going to be a key storyline that'll continue in the year ahead, and then it's going to be a story of supply and construction. We're seeing a pretty significant uptick in that, and so that's something to keep your eye on.
New leasing.
Yeah, new leasing record set last year, and the only way you get a new leasing record set in a segment like that is to have broad-based demand, and that's what we're seeing. So it's logistics providers, retailers, wholesalers, all are taking down space.
Another segment, multifamily, is one that's getting a lot of attention, again, not just here in Central Indiana, but around the state.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, multifamily, even nationally, is a very favored asset class. The performance and the fundamentals are significantly strong, and I think the key storyline there is that you've got really strong demand that our team reports at all types of space. So your newer space, there's really significant demand, as well as your Class B and Class C space. So just a tremendous story there.
Yeah, as we look ahead to 2020, any dark clouds out there? You know, coronavirus?
Yeah, so that's the one thing that's in the headline right now, deservedly so. I think the key takeaway for the property markets there is to recognize that the property markets are not the equity markets, meaning the stock markets, there's a tremendous amount of volatility. Property market, commercial real estate's very different. It's much slower. Certainly, if the volatility that we're seeing or the outbreak were to get much worse and impact the economy in a negative way, there could be a spillover effect, but it's way too early to kind of forecast that for the market. I think it's going to be a really positive outlook in 2020.
All right, good news, great perspective as always from Jason Tolliver from Cushman & Wakefield. Jason, always great to see you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right. Well, coming up, we head to the tiny town of Converse. That's in Grant County, where business is booming at Lucy's.
So if you're a coffee lover, you need to come to Lucy's and try our coffee. We are serving Stone Creek coffee. It's amazing.
Even more amazing is the backstory that influenced Ryan Frank to create and open Lucy's Car Wash and Drive-Thru. It's one that centers around his special needs daughter. Ryan and his wife Beth are here to explain in this week's Business of Health. Stay with us.
We have milk, orange juice, sour cream, butter, eggs, cheese sticks, good creamer, boiled eggs. So we've got all kinds of good stuff here at Lucy's.
Ryan Frank's special needs daughter Lucy is what motivated him and his wife Beth to open a unique business in the tiny town of Converse. That's in Grant County. The Franks wanted to create a safe place for Lucy to work in and for others as well with special needs. So they bought a rundown former car wash and gave it a complete makeover and named it Lucy's Car Wash and Drive-Thru. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta is here with more on this special story.
That's right, Gary. Thank you very much. Lifelong Converse residents Ryan and Beth Frank wanted to do something special for the small town they grew up in and also give their teenage daughter, Lucy, who has autism, a place where she could work. They plan to make it a place of employment for other teens and adults with special needs in the region. Ryan and Beth Frank join me now to tell us more about their young business. Thanks for coming to the show today.
Us.
Ryan, let's start with you.
Yep.
Tell us, how did the idea come about for Lucy's Car Wash?
So we've always had an interest, maybe I've always had an interest in owning a car wash. There was this small neglected car wash in town just about a mile from our house. And we love our community. We thought, let's do this for our community and then also for our daughter, Lucy, that has special needs. Really, since she was about 2 or 3, she has had an interest in water. And so we're thinking long term with Lucy, maybe this is something we could train her, she could work in, and not just her, but other kids with special needs. And so we decided last summer to jump in, try something we've never tried before, running a car wash that was built to have a drive-through convenience store.
Yes, we love that. We're going to get to the convenience store part in just a minute because I think that's really great.
Yeah.
But Beth, when you have a business like this, you become a voice for the special needs community. So what is the message you're hoping to get out there?
Well, since Lucy was born, we have believed that she was fearfully and wonderfully made and that she was made for a purpose. And so as she's gotten older, we have thought about what that purpose could be, in areas that she would be interested in, areas that she would feel connection with the community. And when the car wash idea came up, we thought this is great. And also for the students that she's in school with, for other adults in our community that have special needs, we really want to provide a place for them where they feel connection with the community, where their differences are celebrated, and basically a place where they can shine, where they come and they have a purpose and they enjoy it and they shine.
And a lot of families after high school don't know what to do, and so this is a place for them to go
Mhm.
every day and earn some money. So let's talk about the uniqueness of it, because the drive-through convenience store part is interesting. You don't see that much in Indiana.
You don't.
So tell us a little bit about that.
You don't, yeah. So when we bought this place, it was built originally like 15 years ago to have a drive-through convenience store. So we decided, you know, we both have an interest in gourmet sodas and fun food. We're kind of foodies. Let's open this drive-through convenience store back up. So we've done it. So you literally, if you've never been to a drive-through convenience store, you don't get out of your car. So you just pull your car in. Someone from the Lucy staff comes out, welcomes you. You find yourself in the middle of this convenience store. There's racks on one side with snacks and candy and food and coolers on the other side. And then we have a small kitchen where we're serving some hot food in the morning, like biscuits and gravy. Throughout the day, things like nachos and pretzel bites and breadsticks and fountain drinks and gourmet sodas. So it's been a really fun experience.
It's a really unique food items, and I
Yeah.
know kind of your passion project is the sodas.
Yes.
Beth, so tell us a little bit about the sodas, because those are fun too.
Yes, I love soda, and so that was very important to me. But one of our most popular drinks at Lucy's is the Golden Eagle, and it's just a root beer base with some butterscotch and some vanilla flavoring, and then it's got some cream in there also to make it extra creamy.
So it sounds delicious.
It is. It's
Sounds
very good.
Sinful, but
it
delicious.
does.
They're very good.
So I think it's interesting too that the town has really thrown its support behind this company, behind your business. You've only been open a few months. Tell us what it's been like.
Yeah, it's crazy. Facebook has been so good for us. We really haven't spent $1 on marketing, but the small town, community, school system, the people have just gotten behind it. And we've got a lot of likes on Facebook and a lot of engagement on Facebook every day. Literally every day, people are posting pictures of themselves with their Lucy's gourmet soda or hot dog, and they're getting shared and talked about. So it's been fun. It's been really neat to see the community get behind this.
Support it. We were talking about you have more Facebook likes than you do population-wise in Converse.
We do.
Which means
I don't
people are
understand that,
coming
but
from far away to support you.
well, they are. They are. Yeah,
Right.
we're very, very thankful, and it's been fun.
And just a few seconds left, but you have some online businesses, but this is your first experience in a brick and mortar
It is.
business. What has that learning curve been
Yeah.
like for both of you?
There has been a learning curve, but we have enjoyed when we're there working. It does not feel like work at all, because we love being with the people. When you have a mortar and you're out there and you're seeing people from your community and talking to them, it never feels like work. It just feels like we're having fun.
Good. Well, it looks like a fun place. Congratulations, and keep us posted on the growth.
Will do. Thank you, Kylie.
Thank you.
Gary, back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you. Great story. Well, an India-based digital services and consulting company is continuing to grow in central Indiana. Infosys has cut the ribbon on its new Cyber Defense Center in downtown Indy. It's located inside the company's technology and innovation hub that opened last year. The company says the center aims to prevent, detect, assess, and respond to cybersecurity threats and breaches for its clients. It is the 7th global cyber defense center for Infosys. The center is the company's first in the U.S. and launched with 3 clients. Infosys has 6 technology and innovation hubs throughout the country, and that creates great potential for growth in the cyber defense space. Infosys has already tapped into the educational structure in Indiana in the form of a partnership with Purdue University. Rick Cardwell is vice president and head of the Midwest region for Infosys, and he says now that the center is up and running, the company is looking to bring its services to potential clients throughout the country. Vishal Salvi, Chief Information Security Officer and the head of cybersecurity practice for Infosys, told Inside Indiana business reporter Mary Rachel Redmond everything the company does needs cybersecurity as a foundation.
We want to create an ecosystem of people who can come here, who can work here. We want to tie up with universities to do, get the students onboarded and do some research projects. So we want to do a lot of grassroots innovation and maybe solve some of the problems which are not yet solved by the industry. So that's our ambition. And I think we see a vision, and we see this clearly that Indianapolis is going to help us to achieve that vision.
Cyber doesn't recognize geography. So this idea that what really matters are, large cities, whether it be, what's going on, as important it is out in Silicon Valley and the East Coast of the United States and Washington and other places. I always said, look, cyber is not structured that way. So that means there's lots of opportunity in cyber in a whole lot of geographic areas. And what you're generally looking for is, where are there places where you're able to bring together the private sector, the educational structure, and is there a good educational structure all the way from strong community college structure that potentially can generate volume for us with a particular set of skills, all the way up to, are there institutions that do deep research, that have global connections, that bring together a wide variety of students, and you see all of that here in the broader Indianapolis and Indiana areas.
Meantime, Cardwell says as business grows, Infosys hopes to house its cybersecurity efforts both at the Cyber Defense Center in downtown Indy, as well as at its U.S. Education Center, which is currently under construction at the former Indianapolis International Airport Terminal. Infosys says it will start to move into that campus in October. Well, new data released this week from the Purdue Center for Commercial Agriculture shows a large percentage of American farmers and ranchers feeling very optimistic about the ag economy. The Purdue CME Ag Economy Barometer rose by 1 point last month to 168. That's the highest reading in the 5-year history of the measurement. The barometer's strength was supported by an improvement in producers' perceptions of current conditions, which offset a small decline in expectations for the future. Purdue says the current conditions index set a new high in February, up 12 points from January. Still ahead, our insiders will sound off on some of the week's top stories, but first, a follow-up on a story we brought you about 3 years ago. When Graham Wilkerson started his sports performance company 5 years ago, little did he know how fast his business would take off. Graham and his business partner, Dale Speckman, join us to share the secrets to success of Genesis Sports Performance. Well, it takes a lot of guts to leave a stable, well-paying job to pursue a lifelong dream of owning a business. That's exactly what former DePaul University football player Graham Wilkerson did when he left his medical sales job about 6 years ago to create Genesis Sports Performance, and the move seems to be paying off. Graham and his business partner Speckman are here now with more on a story that is about growth and sports. And gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Gary, thanks for having us.
Graham, I'll start with you on the entrepreneurial side, because you played football at DePaul, you got a good job in medical sales, but you really wanted to do this, get into fitness and create your own business. So you chucked a fairly stable opportunity for something unknown. What was that process like?
Yeah, so I was doing medical device sales for probably 2 years out of college, and I just knew I had a passion for strength and conditioning, and I really knew I wanted to take the leap and go forward with it. So what I did was I ended up getting my master's in Ball State in athletic coaching education. I enrolled in a few certifications. I got my certified strength conditioning specialist certificate, and then I began doing the strength conditioning at Chittard High School. And every day I just was educating myself, learning, growing, and was able to get a steady growth of clients and athletes just when I started.
And that has positioned you to merge with one of your competitors, right? Dale had Athletic Revolution. So I'll first ask you, Graham, what has that meant, this partnership? I know it means more space, more opportunity for the business.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dale and I were, like you said, competitors when we had first started, and we actually got talking and we hit it off one day and we're like, hey, we need to do this together. We have very similar backgrounds. We both are in the Catholic community. I went to Chittard, he went to Cathedral, and similar contacts, so we knew it would create some great synergy between us. And so I went from 3,000 square feet, now we have about 8,000 square feet. We have upstairs, we have a full service chiropractor, and we also have a physical therapist that trains out of there as well.
Dale, you started your company about 12 years ago. Talk about the strength and conditioning, physical fitness, that industry, if you will, because very competitive, a lot of folks out there. How have you seen it change over the years?
I think in the last decade, it's really changed because it's gotten more specialized, which, much to my chagrin, I think especially younger athletes need a really well-rounded training regimen. They need stable joints. They need overall training, core stability, core strength, things like that. And if you kind of just look at sports these days, like travel baseball, for instance, kids are kind of getting pigeonholed into one sport way too early. That's something that I would like to continue to combat and just make it known to parents that it's really important for kids to play as many sports as they can, as long as they can, and to have a really well-rounded training regimen at an early age and not be so specialized.
You've got the youth sports, the younger athletes, certainly a growing piece of the business, but you've also got some big name NFL players, Zach Martin, Nick Martin, Ted Karras, among those. So kind of give some notoriety to the business too, to have those big names training there.
Yeah, it's great to work with guys like that, and they came over with Graham's business, but it's awesome to have them in the building now. It's fantastic to work with guys that are that, but it's also just as rewarding, and maybe even as rewarding, to work with the little guy 9 or 10 years old that's just getting started in the athletic field as well.
Yeah, Graham, as you look going forward, is areas for growth, potential growth, because you got more space now, adding more services and those types of things. Do you see this as a growth opportunity going forward?
Absolutely. One of the great things that we just added is all of our athletes and adults, they get assessed by a physical therapist before they enter within our program. So then while we're doing group training, we offer kind of a customized training approach to each individual. So we're going to continue expanding on that. I think that sets us apart. And then we have a Little Cheetahs program, which we just instituted, and that's a way for us to kind of fight against that sports specialization we see in today's youth. So all sorts of age-appropriate obstacle course, jumping, ball throwing, hand-eye coordination, to get some of those athletic skills at an early age that they might not be getting through an individual specific sport.
Genesis Sports Performance, a growing company on the north or near northeast side of Indianapolis. Graham Wilkerson, also Dale Speckman. Thank you both very much.
Thank
you. Good luck going forward.
Thank you.
All right, well, also making news around Indiana this week, Fort Wayne-based Do It Best Corporation launching a foundation to fuel its nonprofit efforts. The Hardware Co-op says the Do It Best Foundation will distribute grants to organizations that align with its giving philosophy. CEO Dan Starr says the new foundation will focus on 4 key areas for its charitable giving: health and wellness, youth enrichment, the arts, and the community. Coming up, our insiders are getting warmed up to sound off on the coronavirus and the effect it is having on the Indiana economy, everything from manufacturing to travel. There they are in the Inside Indiana Business Social Media Lounge, and they'll join me next. Well, each week, a group of insiders joins me to offer perspective on some of the week's top stories. This week, sounding off on the coronavirus and its impact potentially on Indiana's economy and a lot more. Joining me this week, our Faegre Drinker, Biddle, and Wreath partner, Murray Clark. Also, First Person Managing Director and Executive Vice President Paul Ashley, and Business Furniture CEO Mary Beth Oakes. And welcome one and all to the Insiders for another edition. Coronavirus is dominating the news, so why not dominate the Insiders this week? Murray, as you look at this, obviously national and global attention, but also increasingly in individual states like Indiana, a manufacturing state. You know, what will the impact be on supply in goods and products coming into the manufacturers, all those types of things. As you where do you see it going?
So public side, right? Yeah. I think you're right. On the economic side, it's about the China and the Pacific Rim, you know, has come down under an economic lockdown. Now, I'm told, or I'm led to believe, and I hope that China's gotten through the inflection point on new infections and is starting to open up plants and start manufacturing again. I hope that's the case, because I think that'll be very helpful. There's still obviously a lot of uncertainty outside in this country, in North America and so forth, but hopefully they've turned the corner anyway.
Yeah, do you think in terms of the impact, that uncertainty, especially as it relates to consumer confidence, we saw what the markets have done, these wild swings up and down, but that could be ultimately the biggest impact is on the consumer and willingness and wanting to spend and do the things that the consumer has done for the last decade to really drive the recovery?
I do, and on the public health side, you're talking about a virus that is more lethal than the common cold or common influenza, but really less lethal than many of the pandemics we've seen the last 25 years, SARS, Ebola, but very infectious, and people, and you can have it and not show any symptoms, and there's just such uncertainty. With it.
And certainly one impact on business is on travel in general, but businesses looking at Car Global and Carmel really reducing travel around the country and around the globe for them. And I know, Mary Beth, you, right?
Yeah, so I know we have suppliers out of China that do business in China, and our lender, our bank, actually called me on Monday morning to find out if we'd been feeling the impact of that yet, and we have not. I mean, at this point, we don't see anything slowing down with products being shipped to us. We have not been notified. Really those suppliers are just talking about the same things we're talking about business travel. How do you stay connected? How do you keep the operations going? But no direct impact yet.
Yeah, and you haven't reduced travel, but something you obviously have to keep
we have not changed any of our plans. And I've talked to a lot of our clients who are global companies, and none of them seem to be feeling that impact yet of the supply chain. It is really more just about being mindful about business travel, best practices for employees. How do you, have some contingency plans that you're thinking about if something were to shift into our state?
Paul, you have seen some impact, though, right?
Yeah, we have. So on Tuesday, we got word from our global national affiliation, NFP, that said, hey, we're not going to have our conference, which was set to begin next Monday through Wednesday. And we thought that was odd because it's all 1,200 domestic folks and really no restrictions. So we decided to go ahead and keep the plans, use it as a chance to work on our business, not in our business, and meet directly with the folks from NFP in Austin who are headquartered there. So we might come out ahead and have a better experience, but it just felt odd to me that headed to a place like Austin, Texas, which has not been an epicenter for this yet, felt odd that they would cancel it. But, so be it.
Will be a story we'll be watching in the coming weeks, obviously. Moving on to education, a big education story this week with DePaul University. Its 21st president from Washington University in St. Louis, Lori White. She has an extensive background in education. A family has a great background in education as well. Mary Beth, you are a DePaul grad,
I am.
Proud alum.
Yes.
What's your take on the?
I'm so excited. I think it's going to be just a really new start for DePaul. I know, much like many other small liberal arts colleges, DePaul is thinking about how to grow admissions, how to grow fundraising, and I think she is just going to be the secret sauce to all of that. I think the alumni are rallying around her. I've heard that she has a really strong student focus in trying to understand how they want to learn, how do they want to engage with each other. So I think she's going to even be thinking about experiences and how to make those experiences better for students. and ultimately how to get, you know, alumni like myself to rally around that to help her to really focus on that effort, even like in the classrooms, right? Taking their classrooms to the next notch. So there's a lot of competition. I mean, DePauw, when I was there, DePauw didn't have the same kind of competition that they do today.
Right.
And today they're competing against schools like IU and Purdue, right? So we've got to keep up.
And competing for contributions,
yes.
for funding. And Murray, I mean, the job, and it has been for a long time, of a university president, whether private or public, is largely about fundraising, right?
Yeah, DePauw is so important to this state. I wish the new president well, and her pedigree is extraordinary. But it is about raising money. And you know, as we were talking about, providing a new experience in the classroom and so forth will be costly, right?
Yes.
So it is about fundraising. It is about putting you know what's in seats.
That's right.
But the alumni for DePauw is so strong in this state, and it's a well-endowed university. You know, fingers crossed.
I'm hoping she can take that story and really articulate it to alumni so that they
Tell
really
that
are
story.
compelled to want to.
And she breaks 2 barriers.
Yeah.
First female president,
Yes.
first American president,
Absolutely.
which you know just brings interest to the university, which is
It
great.
does.
No question.
Super exciting.
On the economic development side this week, a couple of big stories. Medical device maker growing in Huntington. Scipio Devices planning to invest about $14 million. Another one, Paul, in southern Indiana, home decor company moving to French Lick, 50 jobs, so a nice deal there. And they're using that announcement as one of the things to promote this new highway, the Mid-States Corridor down there, which would connect southern Indiana with I-69. You know, towns like French Lick and Jasper and Bedford. A lot of people down there say it's going to be critical.
It is going to be critical. What wasn't lost on me is the fact that you've got a Boston-based company in French Lick connected. That's not the first time French Lick and Boston have had a good exchange.
It's about time they reciprocated.
That's right. That's right. We send them Larry, and then they give us a great company back. But in all seriousness, the infrastructure that can be built down there from a roads perspective and interconnecting certain more rural areas that have good economic opportunity is huge for the state. In central Indiana, we take that for granted as the crossroads of America, and in southern Indiana, this is a great linchpin for them to pivot off of.
Yeah, and a great example of that connectivity in southeast Indiana. And Murray, I know you're very, very familiar with the River Ridge Commerce Park, Commerce Center, along the Ohio River bridges in there. That has sparked incredible development in southeast Indiana and put that area on the map, I think, all over the country.
Right, and that led to the construction of the East End Bridge, which is an extraordinary bridge, by the way, if you haven't been across it. But so that has really been transformational down there in the southeastern part of the state, really.
Final word, Mary Beth, the we've long known it's such an asset for Indianapolis. Gotten so many awards and accolades. This week, USA Today's 10 Best Readers' Choice for top or children's museums, number one.
Number one, finally. I mean, this is long deserved recognition, right? We know the quality, the things that happen there every day, and then all the special exhibits. I mean,
it's nice,
but
there is a real impact beyond the economic, but just in quality of life and all those types of things.
Quality of life. I mean, things like that in our zoo and all the other things that we have to offer here, that definitely, if you think about all the efforts we're making to bring businesses here and to bring young adults here and young adults want to stay and raise their families, it's perfect.
Only have 30 seconds. Murray, I'll give you the last word on the NFL Combine, just wrapped up. Folks from Dallas and LA and Las Vegas, I think, were here snooping around. They're going to try to take it. Can Indianapolis keep it?
Well, I hope so. And we'll sure, you know how we pitch those big sporting events. So I have faith in a sports corp, and but it'll be difficult.
A lot of people after it. Great event and a great Insiders panel once again. Paul Ashley, Mary Beth Oakes, Murray Clark, thank you one and all. And we'll be right back after this. Well, coming up next week in celebration of March being Women's History Month, we have a special all-women's edition of Inside Indiana Business. She's a familiar face around Indianapolis and the state. Now Melina Kennedy is Vice President of Product Compliance and Regulatory Affairs at Cummins. She shares what Cummins and other companies are doing to empower women. Also, there is a unique program being created by the oncologist who cared for Tyler Trent and how this program will help support children in their daily lives once they finish cancer treatments. And she traded in her sneakers and shorts to move up to the front office of the WNBA's Indiana Fever. Tamika Catchings will be here as well. Thanks for joining us. Go out and make it a successful week.
Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick is a production of Grow Indiana Media Ventures with support from WFYI Productions.